At the beginning of the film, we see two robbers, Phil and Stan, come to commit a big robbery. Stan doesn't trust their leader, Parker, because it's his first assignment with them. Phil claims that Stan is a close friend and that he trusts him completely. At that moment, Parker walks in and overhears Stan's entire conversation. Parker tells Stan, "If we bring you in again, you'll have to keep quiet and answer no one until the job is done. You can't kill the manager because he's rude to you." Stan asks why. Parker says he doesn't want any bloodshed. If you kill the manager, who will open the vault? He tells Stan to shut up, listen, and stay with him. Stan agrees. The three of them go outside, where their accomplice, Gene, is breaking down the vault door. The crew is large. Parker confronts the manager and says, "That's not your money in the bank. You must be having an affair with some woman." The manager shows them a woman. Parker orders him to hit Stan to impress her. They still have to open the safe. The manager likes the idea and hits Stan, who feels like a hero in front of his girlfriend. Parker then asks the manager to open the safe. Meanwhile, Joe, a bank employee, leaves with his family and notices two cars that aren't theirs. He returns and sees the robbery in progress. Joe decides to steal some money and pulls out his gun. As the robbers drive off with the money, Joe shoots Stan and wounds Phil. Joe grabs a bag full of money and gets into his car. Parker gives chase. After a fierce chase, Parker shoots and kills Joe. Parker sees Joe's family. He gives his wife $10,000 and drives off in Stan's car. Back at their base, Phil is treated for his injury. Together, they have stolen approximately $400,000 and are planning more missions. Jean begins to undress as everyone has become close. Many admire her body. Parker finds this strange. Jean pulls out a gun and attacks Parker. He dodges and Jean shoots the other robbers, then gives chase. Parker is injured and falls into a river. A week later, we meet Kane, who goes to see his mob boss, Cadet, a very dangerous man. Kane tells Cadet that a week earlier, a bank robbery took place, and some of their men suspect Parker, who was once close to Cadet. Cadet claims it wasn't Parker because Chad killed him. Kane says he heard Parker's voice, but not his face. Cadet warns that if Parker is alive, it could complicate their new plan and tells Kane to get back to work. Kane agrees and leaves. Elsewhere, Parker wakes up in a hotel where the manager, Denny Daniels, has been taking care of him. Parker stays there regularly. Parker asks, "Why didn't you have me treated in room 12? Denny explains that a couple is occupying that room and that the doctor treated Parker well. Parker thanks Denny, who tucks him in and leaves. Parker goes to room 12, finds a couple there, chases them out, and retrieves his hidden belongings, guns, money, and passport. He compensates Denny for the damages and expenses, then goes to find Ava, Phil's wife. Parker asks why there are so many of them. Any children around? Ava says she and Phil couldn't have children, so they adopted. Parker asks why Phil didn't come. Ava realizes Phil is dead and tells Parker. Parker explains everything. Jean killed everyone. Jean brought Phil to the construction site. Parker wants to find out who Jean is and where she came from so he can get the money back and return it to Ava. Ava urges him to stop stealing because their lives are in danger. Parker replies that everyone has to do something and that stealing is all he knows. Jean tells Parker he has to find a man named Rewrites who brought her. She asks Parker to promise to kill Jean so Phil's revenge is complete. Parker agrees. Meanwhile, Gary, a theater artist, talks to a government official who asks him how his theater has been able to operate for 5 years without an audience and where the money comes from. Gary says he's been playing because of his patience, and it keeps the theater going. He leaves and tells people he needs big contracts. In reality, he's committing robberies with Parker. Later, Parker tells Parker he'll find Reggie. Parker claims Jean betrayed them. Gary promises to find Reggie and bring him details, and says he's looking for a bigger contract. Parker says he'll see what he can do. At dusk, Reggie is seen with his daughters and his driver. Parker has kidnapped the driver and taken his place. Parker asks Reggie if he introduced Jean and Phil and who Jean really is. Parker fires a warning shot to intimidate him. Reggie says he doesn't know much about Jean. She's dangerous, she was a dictator's bodyguard, and Reggie had given her a couple of jobs. Parker says someone is following them. Reggie says Jean must have sent thugs to kill him. Suddenly, many thugs attack their car and start shooting. Parker kills them one by one and captures one alive. A man named Benny meets with Jean. Benny says he has a plan, but demands money first because he doesn't trust her. Jean insists that she deserves his trust. Benny replies that he wouldn't even trust his own father. Parker arrives and stops them both, asking where my money is. Jean says she spent it all. Benny leaves. Parker kills him. Jean is furious. Benny had a plan for a big heist and she lost all the money. Parker asks what the heist was. Jean says Benny had planned a $1 billion robbery. They were targeting a very rich man. Parker doesn't trust him and presses for details. Jean explains that 4 months earlier, his country's dictator, Della, discovered a $1 billion treasure in a large sunken ship. Della planned to display the treasure in America, then secretly steal it and illegally resell it for a profit, enriching herself while appearing powerless to the world. Jean planned to steal the treasure to help his people. Parker asked who Della had commissioned to steal it. Jean replied that it was a group called the Outfit, actually chats. The treasure included many small, expensive jewels, worth $400 to $500 million, as well as a huge gemstone, a large multist, worth $500 million. This large multist was to be sold to a man named Paul. Kane reports that Benny hasn't answered his phone and may have carried out his plan. Chad explodes and orders Kane to find Benny quickly, or they'll be in trouble. Parker recruits Gary for the heist. Gary and Parker meet with Gene, who introduces them to his team, Harry, Ron, and Mateo, the four who will steal and divide the treasure. Gary already knows about the treasure. Parker asks about their plan. Harry shows a replica of the treasure statue so they can exchange the original for a duplicate. Parker says they can't rob the vault of the largest museum in the United States. The planning would take months. He proposes a better idea. Outfit will steal the treasure first so they can steal it directly from Outfit. Harry and Gene like the plan and agree. Mateo threatens Parker to stay away from Gene, pretending to be her boyfriend. Parker retorts that Mateo should know. Gene undresses in front of everyone. Mateo gets angry. Parker and Gary leave. Parker reveals they are going to steal Outfit from Chad. Gary warns Parker not to get into trouble. With Chad again. Parker says he cheated on Chad before and disappeared. He'll do it again. Gary doesn't trust Stan either. That evening, Parker and Gene meet Ryan, Benny's boyfriend, at a restaurant. Gene speaks to him affectionately. Parker tells Ryan that Benny is dead. Ryan is devastated. Parker explains that Benny had a plan and that Parker wanted him. Ryan says Benny could be upstairs in their room. At that moment, several henchmen sent by Kane arrive, question Ryan about Benny, and capture everyone. Parker and Gene attack the henchmen, and a shootout breaks out. People flee under fire. Parker goes upstairs and discovers the plan for the robbery. Kane also appears. Parker fights Kane, punches him, and throws him out of a robbery scene. Later, Kane goes to find Chad, who has been seriously injured. Chad asks where Benny is. Kane says Benny is probably dead and that he saw Parker and thinks Parker knows about the heist. Chad is furious because Parker poses a serious threat. Elsewhere, Parker's team meets with Ava, Adams, and Matt, three friends hired to help him. Parker dismisses Ron and Mateo because he doesn't trust them. Parker reviews the plan in its entirety. The team will transfer the museum's treasure to an underground station. A garbage train will pick up the cargo, and Louis, the team's man, will control it from the control room. Ava and Adams are to speed up the train. Gary will sabotage the brakes at the next station. The train will accelerate, go off the tracks, and crash below. The team will then grab the treasure and disappear. Everyone likes the idea, and the heist is planned for the following night. They go their separate ways. Parker returns to his favorite hotel, room 12, where Jean finds him. Parker asks why she is there. Jean says she lived next door and came to tell him a story. A war was raging in France, and a warrior was fighting fiercely. A sword struck him, and the warrior turned out to be a woman. A statue honoring her bravery was erected, the Lady of Orient. Parker is impressed. Ron and Mateo arrive and overpower Parker and Jean, rendering them unconscious. They tie them up in front of an empty house and tell the troop that Parker was there. Parker warns them that if the troop arrives, they will be killed. The henchmen shoot Ron. Parker has Mateo killed as well and escapes. He then shoots the troop's thug. Cat calls. Parker answers. Cat is furious and says, Parker shouldn't have come back alive. Now Cat will have to kill him again. Parker replied, I killed your boss and made you boss? And you tried to get rid of me, but I'm going to finish you off again. Chad said, Parker, there's nothing you can do. You think you're going to steal my treasure, but that robbery didn't happen tomorrow. I already succeeded today. Parker was shocked to hear this. Then Parker and Zane announced to their entire team that the heist was happening today and that they had to complete the plan within an hour. The four men split up and left the house. Ava and Adams reached the control room, but the manager refused to let them in. They told him, your man Lewis is controlling the train and disrupting it. The manager was shocked. Just then, Lucy threatened him with a gun. The manager entered and opened the outside door for Ava and Adams. The two of them entered, captured Louis, and took control of the train. They increased the speed, but it was already too late. The train wasn't going fast enough. Inside, with the treasure, were numerous thugs. Meanwhile, Gary sabotaged the brakes, and the train moved forward. However, it wasn't fast enough to crash. Parker said, there's another turn ahead. We'll have to accelerate again and disable the brakes. Everyone rushed forward. Gary didn't arrive in time, and the train was about to overtake him. He opened fire, activated the brakes, and let out a victory cry. The train was heading straight for Parker and Zane. It crashed in front of them and continued forward. Both of them reversed, narrowly escaping death. The three men regrouped with Gary and opened the container, but inside, they found only rocks. Chad hadn't placed the treasure on the train. They were disappointed. Zane asked, why would Chad drive an empty train? Gary replied, Parker, maybe it was just to kill you. Suddenly, a wave of thugs attacked. The three fought back fiercely. Matt arrived in his car, and the three escaped together. The next day, the whole team was disappointed that the heist had failed. Parker calmed them down. Don't worry. I still have a plan to finish this job. Gary warned them, I told you going after Chad was dangerous. He's ruthless. Now, with Chad, even the police are after us. Zane asked him for his idea. Parker explained, we're going to hunt Kane down to find out where the treasure is. Even if they try to sell it in pieces, they won't be able to destroy the big statue. If we get it, we can sell it for between $400 and $500 million. That's no small feat. Everyone liked the plan. Parker and Gary disguised themselves as officers and went to Kane's house. They knocked out his guards and entered. Kane was inside with his girlfriend, Mia. Upon seeing Parker, Kane was terrified, remembering how Parker had thrown him from a height. Parker asked, "Where is the statue?" Kane trembled. "If I tell you, you'll throw me again." Parker promised not to do anything, but Gary threatened him more forcefully. Kane fainted from fear. Then they questioned Mia about the statue. She revealed that a man named Paul Grace was buying it. Parker and Gary were delighted. Parker met Paul and asked him where the statue of the lady from Ontario was, showing him his gun. Paul revealed, "I have a huge vault on the other side of town. Inside are 8 safes. They can't be opened, and each one only opens once a day at 8 a.m. I placed the statue in vault number 1. Zane quickly looked up the details online. Parker said, "I'm an expert bomb maker. I'll handle this no problem." They left Paul under Sam's watch and began planning the vault burglary. A short while later, the guard's surveillance cameras caught a car accident involving a young girl. At that moment, the cameras went blank. Shocked, a guard went outside to check, so Zane and Gary ambushed him and knocked him unconscious. The team broke into the vault. Meanwhile, Paul noticed that Matt had fallen asleep. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Paul quietly left the house and called Chat to inform him of the burglary. Furious, Chat rushed to the safe. Parker had already blown open one of the safes. Soon, Chad's entire team arrived. They saw the safe door broken, but the safe inside was empty. Chat was stunned, as these safes were considered unbreakable. Meanwhile, Parker drove off with the statue hidden in a truck. Chat sent all his men after him, triggering a massive chase. Parker and Gary took the statue far away, deep into the mountains. But the statue accidentally fell and landed in the hands of the henchmen. They brought it back to Paul's house. Paul was overjoyed. He told them he would give it to Chat the next morning. After they left, Paul inspected the statue. A ruby fell out. Upon examining it, Paul discovered it was fake. The entire statue was a forgery. Later, Paul summoned the dictator. The dictator angrily called out to Chad, "Why did you give a fake statue to my client and keep the real one for yourself?" Cat swore, "I sent the real one." But the dictator ordered his execution for treason. Cat was furious. "Something's wrong. We have to get back to the vault." Meanwhile, Gary congratulated Matt for pretending to be asleep, which was part of their scheme. Their plan had worked. Paul had fled, forcing Cat to leave. To come. In reality, they had blown up vault number 1 just as the clock struck 8 o'clock, when it unlocked automatically. Inside was the real statue, and they were about to leave with it. But then Chad's men arrived. Chat snatched Parker's gun and yelled, "After all that security, you tricked me into switching the numbers on the vault and making me think you'd stolen it. You gave us the fake statue on purpose so we'd think we'd won." Parker replied, "There's no cure for your stupidity." Chad snarled, "But you lost." Parker said coldly, "Sometimes to win, you have to lose. I've been stalking you for months. I've been robbing every bank where you deposited money. That's how I learned Outfit's profits were plummeting. You've become weak. That's why you made this colossal deal with the dictator. But if this deal fails, the dictator will have you killed, and I'll never let this statue reach him." Parker then revealed the bomb he had planted on the statue. Chat panicked. Parker pulled the trigger and blew the statue to pieces. Chaos erupted. Parker took down the henchman, grabbed Chat and declared, "I never wanted that money. All I wanted was revenge." He killed Chat on the spot. Outside, Chad's men engaged the dictator's men in a bloody battle. Parker and his team escaped by car. The next day, Parker's friends were angry at home. Before leaving, Parker gave them diamonds and rubies he had taken from Motley. Everyone was overjoyed. Parker then went to the hotel and met Zane. She had seen the news. Parker had recorded Call's phone and revealed the dictator's secrets to the world. The dictator was replaced, and Parker returned the stolen treasure to his country. Overjoyed, Zane said to Parker, "Come with me to my country. We can live together, and our new leader is good." Parker replied, "I can't be with you. You killed all my friends." Zane grabbed his gun. Parker said, "I know where you're hiding it." Zane whispered, "I thought we loved each other." Parker replied, "I like you, but what you've done is irreparable." Zane laughed, shared a drink with him, and accepted his fate. Parker shot him dead in the hotel room and left. Later, Parker met Ava. He gave her some rubies and told her he had killed Zane and taken revenge. Ava was delighted. After that, Parker and Gary moved on. Gary was ready to restart his theater now that he had money. While talking to a man, he even stole his wallet. Parker, satisfied that he had avenged his old gang, walked alongside Gary. The two discussed their next robbery as they continued on their way. And that's how the brilliant film ended.